RTD Live Talk, Detroit's number one YouTube talk show. We are live for a Wednesday, midweek, the People's Talk Show. Looking forward to connecting to find out what's on your radar. And boy, do we have a lot of things to touch on. But hope everyone's doing well. Sorry about the absence. Once again, lose track of time and get caught up in other things. And here we are, though. Let's make this time worth your while. Welcome to the live stream. My name is Mike, the host of Detroit's number one YouTube talk show. Excited to be back. Looking forward to connecting and just plug it in and try and connect the dots to the bigger picture. That's all. Let's dive in. For those that might be new to the community, welcome. Definitely make sure you guys hit that bell notification if you want to stay plugged in. And then also, if you're new, let us know where you're watching from via the chat, or if you're a returning visitor, definitely love to acknowledge your presence. So in the chat, let me know where you're watching from. Give you a quick shout out. And then when the phone lines open up, 313-462-0027 is the number to call and let your voice be heard. So I want to jump right in. Got lots of things I want to share with you guys. And I want to get more phone calls in a day just to get an idea as to what's going on out there, get a better understanding of what you guys are keeping an eye on and how things are going in your neck of the woods, wherever you're located at on this planet. So let's jump in. We got James checking in. Appreciate you. We got Ralph checking in as well. We got Colony checking in. I see a lot of thoughts there. Dude boy, we got low blood pressure. Bougie Prepper checking in. We got Nick checking in. We got Vivian checking in. We got Dominic checking in. Appreciate you guys. Lightning for thee. What else? Let me scroll through a little bit. Okay. Fair amount of people, man. Ed checking in. Free thinker. Appreciate everybody for taking time to bless me with your presence. As always, it is an honor and a privilege to be able to connect with like-minded individuals such as yourself. And I definitely want to honor you guys for being a part of the community. So thank you. So where do we start? So I want to make sure that I think it's my personal opinion. Ronald from NC checking in. As I mentioned from the videos done earlier, we're going to hear more news. News going to come out a lot faster as things unfold. It's basically just an indication of where we're heading and at the speed at which change is underway. And mind you, everything that we're hearing about, it's, as I say, old news, but usually new in reference to it hitting the mainstream airwaves and your average person becoming familiar with the true state of the global economy and the financial structure that's shifting. So for those that might be new to the channel, I've been talking about the rethinking the dollar process, and I'm actually going to rebrand the channel to Thinking Beyond the Dollar because we're at that point now where, as I mentioned before, all dollars are not created equal. And it's never been more important to understand what that concept is. So got some visual aids I want to throw out there. But, for those that are interested, archiving this entire process, I put everything I've done in reference to the current transition away from the petrodollar system in one catalog throughout the last couple of years. And it's just, nuggets that you can still chew on that gives you a understanding of kind of the things that have taken place over the last couple of years. So just so you guys know. And then also I got a new visual I want to share with you guys, referring to some good news. And so for those that are part of the Telegram and Discord, I put it out there last night. And, something that I definitely want to mention before we log off today. But let's jump into some headlines news, man. Lots of things to touch on, and I'm going to try to get at it as fast as I can. But I appreciate the community member that brought something to my attention via Twitter. They tagged me on Twitter a couple hours ago, I think it was, or whatever, hour or two ago. So once again, just things that fly under the radar, mainstream news, but it's always good to just touch on it, share our 2 cents on it, process it, and then move on. But Russia foreign minister meets the BRICS ambassador. So it looks like, I guess today, over in Russia, there was a meet and greet breakfast in the Kremlin. And so when you get the BRIC nations ambassadors getting together, no doubt they were not just having a friendly catch up. They were actually doing some deep dive, ironing out the kinks, possibly towards some things that we're going to find out more about in the days ahead. But just a picture here. And when I saw this picture and the fact that the picture was also shared on social media. Let me find it if I can. Give me 1 second here. Maybe I can't. Maybe I will. But the picture that was shared on social media, where is it at? Okay, here, go right here. So, yeah, so it's in the same article. The picture that was shared in the social media, in the article, whatever, actually came from the Russian government Twitter account. And it says Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov met with the BRICS ambassadors in Moscow. The participants enthusiastically exchanged views. And so having, just, play on words. Mind you, every word has a meaning at this current moment to either paint a narrative or to lead you astray down a false rabbit hole. But here we have something where you thought the words enthusiastically exchanging views. And then you got this picture, and this picture, the way they position themselves, the way they stand, like, they stand in there, and it just, off first glance, the first thing that came to my mind, this is like what some would say, like a boss move, where you have 5 individuals that are aware of what's really going on, and they are in a position where the Western media have you thinking that Russia is completely isolated. They've been cut off from all the, financial networks or whatever. But you have 5 representatives here from 5 nations that have been working together for quite some time in a picture. And it's a sign of unity, I would imagine, or strength amongst those individuals there. And, on top of whatever else they really talked about. We know it just wasn't on, the stuff we're being told from mainstream media, but it's my suspicion that it has more to do with the upcoming announcements of that next payment structure or some kind. But anyway, we'll move on. But curious to get your guys' thoughts on that. And just diving more into the article here, it's real watered down. It's just, the bare minimum, just a typical press briefing, very neutral and user-friendly on the surface. So it's not even really worth talking about. But it says the unprecedented economic war unleashed against Russia through sanctions is a crude violation of key international legal standards, according to their foreign minister Lavrov. So they're actually just talking about how ultimately what the West has done against them, as it says in this article right here. Let me find it. Man, I got to get my articles together. Give me 1 second. Here we go. So this article here was translated from Russian, but it says Lavrov, the freezing of the reserves of the central bank was not predicted. And then he talks about, as I can scroll through here if I can, give me 1 second. I'm not quite sure why that does that, but he was talking about ultimately having frozen their accounts is just the greatest form of theft. So he's quoted as said, when the reserves of the central bank was frozen, in general, no one could think of those who predicted what sanctions the West might apply. This is just theft. And so I just thought that was worth bringing to your attention, just because $300 billion frozen or not given back, or the owners, or not even, so they're not even the owners. They're, it's all, fictitious digits on the screen primarily, but even the so-called owners or of those assets were not able to use them. And just think about what's really going on in a bigger picture of things, like how they were outright frozen or, seized up or whatever. Imagine what's going to happen to the rest of the world as this transition unfolds, where more and more of the wealth confiscation will happen from the top right on down in this transition out of the old monetary structure. And, to shine more light on that, let me just share a very interesting article here that you can't help but talk about this type of stuff, because this is a good portion of the working class / retirement population's current asset allocation. So this is now the worst drawdown on record for global fixed income. And of course, they're referring to the debt market, i.e. the bond market, and all the other things that has to do with that. That 60-40 split of the typical old and outdated financial structure for investing for your long-term future is completely going belly up because of the negative interest rates and the continuous just the complete implosion of the bond market, on top of some other things I want to share with you. But just to give you a little bit of what this is about, because this is alarming, but should be surprising for those that have been paying attention. The global bond market have suffered unprecedented losses since the peak of last year, as central banks, including the Federal Reserve, look to tighten policy to combat surging inflation. And then it goes on to talk more about just some figures. And it's just, once again, debt instruments, government liabilities, as much as they have become the anchor and the bedrock or the bloodline for the financial structure, being looked at as a reserve asset. It's like, dude, at this current moment, when government's on a race to the base, and the method that they're racing to debase happens to be through the bond the governments issued to central banks to buy up to then monetize. It's a repetitive loop of wealth destruction. So, I don't really feel remorseful or sorry for individuals that haven't really caught on to that aspect of the criminality behind just the current financial structure. But once again, these type of things play into what I'm going to continue to harp on, and that happens to be the small details within the current changing of the monetary order. And so, outside of the fact that right now we're in a technologically advanced age where everything is already digital. Your financial payment structures are already digital. Your savings, your investments, unless you have it in your possession now, in i.e. form of cash or metals or whatever else is tangible and real, it's already digital at its core. And this is the first time this has ever happened in human history, just because the prior resets, if I was to zoom in more, there were no computers, there were no financial products and instruments packaged up as investment tools that people could use to try to profit off of in this current system. So this is all relatively new, but it has always ended the same way. And you can see from the very background of this picture here, when you see a currency burning, and even if back in the day when it was metals, they were clipped, dipped, and diluted down and snipped and basically debased by adding, metals of lesser value, expanding the quantity of coins in circulation. And so it's the same thing. History happens to repeat itself. It just looks a little bit different, but the final outcome happens to be the same. Those that are not aware and awake and doing something different than the average person ends up on the losing side. But let me stop ranting. So I'm going to always refer to this visual aid just because it's the bigger picture of things worth keeping an eye on. And then here's something else I want to mention from Tavi Costa that is worth mentioning. This is about the government debt. It says, we just saw the largest issuance of U.S. Treasury since the pandemic recession and global financial crisis. You factor up the most two disastrous events in the last 20 years plus that happened globally, that had a global ramifications. And he's talking about what we're currently witnessing now is basic. It's just beginning in comparison to how bad it's going to get. It says almost $850 billion just in the last 3 months. The flood of treasury supply is also driving rates higher. I don't understand why no one is talking about this. And so, as you guys can see here from the visual aid here, the debt issuance by governments, by our government in particular, happens to be increasing in similar fashion the way that it had when there was actual systemic events occurring, i.e. the great financial crisis right here, and of course the drawdown of the global economy March 2020. And so here we are now in 2022, and we're having the same type of activity in the treasury market, signaling that there are some problems going on. And so typically we hear about the response first, we hear about the issues first, and then the follow will be the issuance of large amounts of debt to try to paper over the problem. But yet we're still being told that the Fed is trying to do all three of the trifecta, lower their balance sheets, double down on raising interest rates now, as well as stopping the monthly accommodative policy, which I haven't checked on in a while. So we're being lied to all around. And, when it comes to the current economic conditions, things are, a little bit problematic, to say the least. But then again, that's just the beginning of the entire story. Here's another interesting article I was going to talk more in depth about. But while all the current piping, whether it's being clogged up, whether the pipes are being, disassembled or whatever is happening, the reworking of the monetary structure is still underway. And that, I had an article or video I was going to do earlier about how, the digital asset space in and of itself is a big Trojan horse. And I was actually working on a visual aid to get a chance to finish it, but I'll hopefully have it tomorrow. But because it's, the Trojan horse is what, keeps your eyes, it keeps your attention focused on the exterior layer, while inside of that Trojan horse is the true reason why that horse was built. And this is the reason why the horse was built, just talking about the digital asset space and all those buzzwords, just, decentralization, open source, yada, 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 distributed ledger technology. This is what it's all about. Central banks, the BIS developed digital currency platform prototype, and it's called Project Dunbar. So if you just happen to look up all these words, you get more insight. But yet, diving a little further, you see all the central banks that are cooperating and all the test beds and how they're building bridges and interoperability and all those buzzwords that people are extremely excited about when it comes to the digital asset space. But yet, when you have a central control done by central banks, it just reinforces the idea and my skepticism on how all this technology, the development of it, was utilized in the open source, free world, free market by very smart men from Harvard and all that stuff like that. But they were testing all this stuff to go back towards the multi-central bank digital currencies and all the things that go with that. So there's more information that I can share. This video here gives you a good idea of how it's actually, they're well further along. They're farther along rather than what we're being led to believe. And this video here talks about, let me stop right here. These are, as it says, 20 of the pretty important banks. We got Goldman Sachs, UBS, we got ZA Bank, and a lot of the other banks that I'm not familiar with, HSBC. They are all partnered on this. They've all put in on this. And they list some of the reasons why and some of the benefits behind it. There's 15 business use cases for CBDCs, and it just gives more international trade. It gives you all types of reasons why, this is going to be beneficial for the banks and the financial institutions and the government. So you got the globally systemic important banks. You got the financial hedge funds and all those, intermediaries between the central banks and the commercial banks that profit off of the products created. And then, of course, the central banks last. I mean, they have the entire infrastructure worked out, people. It's already here. It's already ready. Now it's just a matter of, as I mentioned before, the great calamity to be the excuse to why they issue this stuff in. So, it's just a continuation, just a new age, new fashion. And let's keep it moving. All right, what else I got? A couple more articles I can bore you with that. But real quick glance at the metal space for those that are concerned with gold and silver. Don't be. It's stable. It is stable. $25 silver and 1900s gold. That's pretty stable to me in comparison to the depreciation of fiat currencies, except for the ruble. I must admit, with what's his name coming out today, Putin talking about a new payment structure. Here's a little article, a little tweet here. It says Russia's ruble rallies after Putin says he will demand ruble payments. By him activating the petro ruble, in a sense, they got a little bit. The ruble, gained a little strength against the dollar. And once again, it doesn't really say much when you're comparing, a fiat versus fiat, because they're all ultimately heading to their intrinsic value of zero. But for the sake of, Putin trying to show himself strong and combating and playing chess while the West is playing checkers, I guess it does do him a little good. But going from at a low of 140 ruble to $1 up to 95, I must say that's a hell of a increase over the last probably week or so. And this announcement might take it even higher against the dollar. So, yeah, this is what's happening in the news, man. This is mainstream stories worth touching on. And I want to share with you real quickly a visual way that I put together that I did share on Telegram and Discord last night, just because it was something that I think is, it's relatively important overall, because to me, it's of more importance to me, actually, and really, really it is, than all the other stuff. But let me grab it if I can. Let me grab it and put it up here, just because I want to talk more about this, and I will always refer back to this. But let me see if I can put it up on the screen here. So this is, I'll grab it if I can. Open. Nope. Let me stop here. So yeah. So let me see if I can click and make it bigger. Okay. So I'll just use this, but this is what I'm referring to, and we can talk further about this. But this was something that was, put in my spirit, yesterday morning, and had a chance to put it together. But I was, and this is from the Telegram page, but I was thinking about where we're at now and how dark and how godless society has become. And it's popular now. It's cool. And social media and the tech companies, because they control the airways in which we communicate, if you say something that goes against the grain, you'll be canceled, or you'll be talked about, or whatever. And this happens to be about I think the one of the Twitter accounts for, I think it's Babylonian B or something like that. I'm not sure. I forgot the name of it, but they were basically suspended off Twitter for just questioning. Like, it was a mere question about something, I think, with the transgender or something like that. And it just goes to show how if it doesn't fit what they are trying to promote, you get canceled. And I'm thinking, like, why continue to pay attention to and give these people our time and attention when we should be focusing on higher, bigger things that goes beyond their evil, dark, twisted agenda? And so I came up with, an idea was introduced to me rather of, we've always, and society itself likes to push God out. And at this time, for those that are believers in particular, it's never been more important to bring God back into the fold. And this goes back to education system, how they took God out of the out of the school system, trying to take God out of the household. God, just if you mention Jesus Christ, you get laughed at, but they can mock him all they want. But if you say anything about any other religion, you get in trouble. So it's just, it's foolishness. So, I remember we used to sing Pledge of Allegiance. Everybody remember that. I don't know if they do that anymore. They probably don't. One nation under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all that good stuff we used to say. And I'm thinking, like, at this current moment, this governmental structure that we have, I don't really support or really want to get behind it. So I have to somehow, some way, just determine whose side am I on. Who am I pledging my allegiance to? And so with this little tweet here I put out there yesterday, it just said, I pledge allegiance to the King of Kings and Lord of Lords. And I mentioned about just created the Declaration of Dependence. And so this country 200 something years ago was founded upon the concept of independence. And so the Declaration of Independence was put in place to separate us and to help establish the identity of this country, and move us away from the monarch and the British kingdom and things like that. And so we stood on the fact that we wanted to be independent. And at that time, they appeared to have put, God first and things like that. And those were the founding principles of this country. But things are those days are gone. So I personally, for myself, I'm going to spend more time. I'm always going to mention this. I'm always going to refer back to this, my declaration of dependence, because I am dependent upon the King of Kings and Lord of Lords. And so, I'm not ashamed to mention that. So for those that are out there vibe with me, you feel what I'm saying, you see where this is going, who is your allegiance to? And I think it's more important now than ever to keep that in the forefront of your mind, as well as not be ashamed of, speaking out publicly about it. Just because if you don't, you're going to be silenced, because if you speak out against anything else, you're going to be clowned or, silenced. But why even give them attention? Just focus on what we know is eternal. And, to me, that's the kingdom of God. So this is just a little visual that I put together that I will use this as a model to build upon, but Declaration of Dependence on the kingdom of God. And I refer to what has been considered the Lord's Prayer, but not in actuality, it's a prayer by the Lord given to his disciples on the structure in which and the priorities that encompasses how we should pray. And so we're going to dive further in this, but this will definitely be mentioned often because there's power in the word. And these words here, when they come from the king directly, I think is worth paying special attention to, because it refers to our true government, the eternal government, the one that is being pushed out in silence and everything like that in this current day and age. We need it now more than ever. And that goes to the whole idea of the clash of governmental entities at play right now, the clash of two kingdoms. And we know which one's eternal. We know which one's going to lose, but just for the sake of fun, just have some fun with it. All right. So let's keep moving, man. Let me open up the airlines, not the airlines, but the phone lines. And, let's have some fun. So feel free to give me a call. Let's talk. I want to hear from you guys directly. What else is on your mind? Feel free to have at it. We got to go a couple more minutes. And I want to get it out there. So let's get some phone calls in. Share what's on your radar. And let's keep it moving. Or if you're, not bold and courageous to call in, feel free to highlight at Rethinking a Dollar. And if I notice it, I'll try to jump on it if it stands out. So let's keep it moving. Let me see here. Keep it moving. What else we got here? And so, yesterday's chit chat back and forth was pretty good because we got a chance to dive into the word a little bit, and whatever the word is preached, there's power in that word. So it was definitely fun. See some back and forth people, referring to Mr. TB. We got T-Ma here says, Mike, thank you for being so on top of news. RTD is the best show on YouTube. I always look forward to your updates and live shows. Appreciate you. All right, let's keep it moving. Let me get this right. Hello, caller. Where we calling from?
Yeah, Mike, Steve, FEMA Region 9.
Steve, what's going on, my man? Give me a quick thought.
Hey, Biden's little speech the other day. Do you know what date that was on there?
I don't. Give it to me off top.
3/22. If you pull up that email there that I sent you there, and
okay,
click on that link there. You're just talking in code again.
Oh,
the secret society guys. That's the Skull and Bones 3/22.
Okay. Okay.
3/22/22.
The number 3/22 appears in Skull and Bones. Man.
Yeah. So he's just doing his thing.
Yeah.
He's just doing what he does, his little satanic things or whatever. But I just want to remind everybody, like you said, Mike, this is all spiritual, and our faith lies in Jesus, and Jesus is the only thing that can get you past Satan.
Yeah.
Nothing else is going to get you past Satan.
Yeah.
You're not going to outsmart him. You're not going to do anything.
Yeah.
Better rely on Jesus to pull you through. And that reminds me of that Psalm 119, verse 89. Forever, O Lord, thy word is settled in heaven. I mean, it is what it is.
Yeah, that is what it is, man.
And then Acts chapter 4, verse 12, where it talks about no other name under heaven. He's the only hope in this race to the bottom here.
Right. Only.
So.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Appreciate you. So
yeah, that's all I have.
No, but hey, man, appreciate you once again. I put it on the screen. People got a chance to see it. So thanks for bringing it to our attention. I wasn't 3/22. I wasn't even going down not going on that deep. But appreciate you for taking us there, man.
All right.
Be good.
Take care.
Yep. Hello, caller. Where you calling from?
Hey, this is Patrick Pellegrino from Denver.
Patrick from Denver. What's going on, my man? Give me a quick thought.
Yeah, I actually just wanted to get your thought on something.
Okay.
I've seen a lot of stuff kind of about people are becoming single issue voters or issue voters based on inflation and starting to change their opinions on where they want to vote in the coming months.
Yeah.
And I was wondering what you were thinking. A lot of people right now, it's kind of like there's this divergence of people.
Yeah.
There's the people that are being prudent and they continue to get punished for either saving or buying gold. And then the government continues to basically encourage poor behavior and continues to save people that would otherwise have been, I don't know, maybe they would lose a bunch of money or something like that. So I was wondering, the light will never actually come to fruition in terms of these kind of events that would take place in terms of a major collapse in the market, and they continue to save it. So I was wondering what's the point of, I understand buying like gold and everything, but it just sounds like a lot of people are not being prudent, and for like things like gold and everything to spike, that would have to actually take place. So, I mean, just want to hear your thoughts on that.
Great points there. And so in reference to the comment about, gold and silver, spiking, it requires some type of, unforeseeable event. But in actuality, in my personal opinion, gold and silver doesn't have to really do anything. Gold and silver doesn't have to perform. And when I mention that is because I look at gold and silver from a monetary standpoint as the actual standard of which we will price, value everything from moving forward. In this current time, due to the financialization of humanity, fiat currencies are the primary mediums that we work for, live, save, invest with. But we're witnessing those being eroded, as you just mentioned. And so when things blow through based upon history, and this is just me, and as I'm going to dive deeper down, with examples of how, the transfer of wealth occurs from transitional periods throughout history. But in the end, when, things completely go belly up, it's about preserving whatever purchasing power you have there, because in all these little time periods I have on the screen here, everyone always recognized gold and silver. It was always recognizable, as something that people wanted in exchange for goods and services amongst bartering and things like that. So it was always the best version of what we might call today a stable coin. So it's going to be stable. 1 ounce ain't going to change. Only thing's going to change is how many pieces of paper you will be willing to give it to, get rid of it for or not. So that settles that. And as far as on the political side of things, with the midterm and voting and all stuff like that, it's up in the air, man, because I have a suspicion that there's going to be something that occurs before then that would probably postpone it. National emergency, we got to redo this, because mind you, the last time we had a presidential election that was altered with the whole voter registration, vote from home, and all the ballot stuff that was suspect as ever. So we run the risk of having something like that again occur, where ballots are casted a different way, or something that they throw at us as a wrinkle in this that just tries to keep them in power. But mind you, both parties are in this together, so it's all one big facade in a sense overall. So it's hard to really explain it, navigate it, other than just it's it's craziness, man. So I don't put my confidence or hope in no politician or no figure. Ain't no white, ain't no, white hat here, good guy there. It's biblically speaking, we know where this is heading. Now it's a matter of, not allowing this control to dictate our lives, control our lives. How can we bring about goodness in the midst of all this craziness is what I'm kind of trying to look for. So that's just me. Hope that helps somewhat.
Yeah, agreed. Thanks, Mike.
Appreciate you, man. Thanks for the question.
Bye.
Yep. Yeah. Hope that made sense in some capacity. So I'll hear the question, and while I'm listening to the question, I really try to pay attention to the details, because if not, I hear one word, one question, my mind started racing, and I may not even answer the damn question sometimes. All right, so I see some back and forth dealing with, it looks like TB, let's be nice. We all are the same mindset. We all know, what we're up against, and I'd assume that we all agree that at the essence of everything, we're not wrestling against each other. It's the puppeteers in the spiritual realm that control those that are in power at this current moment. But we all know that's all temporary and subject to change at any moment now. So let's be nice. And speaking of which, let's talk about another subject. And I'm curious to get your guys' thoughts on it, because it caught me by surprise. And it's just, I'm trying to read into it more. But we have, I can't find any stories, but let me see if I can find some stories. But there's more celebrity figures, in particular politicians, that are somehow testing positive. And they're promoting it like it's like something that the world should care about, or something like that. I'm not quite sure, but they're talking about. So let me see if I can find. I can't find it, but anyway, so I saw something saying that Klaus Schwab tested positive, and Nancy Pelosi, I think Kamala Harris, or variety of politicians and name brand figures tested positive. And they're trying to, headlines is, they have mild symptoms, and then Hillary Clinton tested positive, and following headline says, tested positive, but then it ends with, thank goodness that, I was whatever, or it was mild symptoms. I'm like, people really think they got that stuff in their body. But some people do. Anyway, I'm not going to worry about it. But it's just interesting. I wonder, has the narrative changed, or there, more of a sense of urgency on their part to really keep the fear in reference to health in people's eyes? Because there's another version of a variant. I think it's called Long C19 in Australia now. So, yeah. Hello, Carlos. Where are we calling from?
Mike, it's low blood pressure. Shout out to Timo from Round Rock and Faith Parent.
What you talk, LB? What'd you say, man? Round Rock and what?
Oh, am I coming out am I coming clear?
It was choppy at first, so I missed the first couple parts.
Shout out to Timo from Round Rock, Texas.
Timo.
And Faith Parent.
Okay, good deal. What else going on with you, man?
Hey, Mike.
Yeah.
Look, man, I don't think the ruble ever inflated a little bit. I don't think it even moved. I think they're shutting everybody out of the banks, and they're shutting out and isolating the ruble because it's gaining power, Mike.
That is a possibility. That is definitely a possibility, especially if it ends up being utilized as a payment method for Russian resources, then I would imagine it would be in demand very highly, therefore, allowing it to appreciate even further with a real world use case, because in order to get stuff out of Russia, you're going to have some of that in your possession. So, yeah.
Yeah, you know Russia, they got Europe by the tenates. You know what that is?
Yeah, I can put a picture to that. Yeah.
There you go. You're learning Spanish now, Mike.
So watch this. So what that's going to do is going to make Europe have to really decide whether or not they're going to continue to go along with the West wholeheartedly, or will it perhaps break up the European Union because Germany or other nations might decide that they're not willing to go through an outright energy crisis and actually run the chance of losing support control of their own country, because the population is definitely going to start uprising if the prices of everything goes up, in particular, just remaining of this winter especially. So we'll see if something is, something breaks, man, something gives in the EU region.
This famine, Mike, it's going to be very interesting with hungry people, Mike.
Yeah, I would agree, man. And it's in the cards, and it's a part. And the thing is, they're using that as a strategy. Like, that was a part of the strategic plan of bringing about this restructuring. And that plays into why Bill Gates decided to buy up half the farmland in the world, type of thing. So he obviously knew what was coming because he's a part of the plan. So, yeah. Appreciate you, man.
All right, Mike.
Be good.
Yeah, thanks for taking my call.
My pleasure. Thanks for calling in, man. Hello, caller. Where we calling from? Hello?
Hi, Mike.
Hey there.
This is Kudos Whitebeard in Yashkuba, Mexico. Can you hear me?
I can, my friend. What's going on with you? Give me a quick thought.
I just wanted to double back and talk about one of your shows when you had the hockey player that is investing into the magic mushrooms.
Yeah, psychedelics and the cannabinoids. Yeah.
Yes, I am doing the same thing in Yashkuba. In fact, I just wrote a letter of recommendation for one of my employees to attend mushroom growing school, not only for the psychedelic aspects, which I think are important for treatment of depression and people that suffered from traumatic brain injuries, which I have too. I suffered a very bad concussion when I was about 4 years old and nearly died. So I'm doing this to help others, but that's something, there's been a lot of research at the University of Wisconsin, the state that I'm from. Now, you had mentioned the national anthem or the Pledge of Allegiance.
Yeah.
I was in a school a couple of years ago because my wife is a teacher, and they have the Pledge of Allegiance. Now, I was sitting there, and there was no way I was going to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance because I hate the U.S. government. But anyway, in my book, one of the things that I talk about is the national anthem was actually written by a slave owner, and there's 4 verses to it. They only sing the first verse. The third verse is racist as hell. It's in my book. I even put it in red font.
Yeah. So yeah, it was racist as hell. Give it. Well, I'll leave it at that. But I'll take your word for it. I was going to ask some more details, but. But no, yeah, appreciate you for sharing that.
Yeah, so another thing, a while back I sent you that presentation on Hugo's plan, which is one of the things that I'm trying to do, and I'm borrowing in currencies that are failing. For example, the Mexican peso is failing about 2.6 times faster than the U.S. dollar when measured in money, which is gold. Yeah. Okay, well, if I get a 30-year loan, the peso failed in 1994. It's 26 years old. The average duration lifespan for a currency is 27 years, according to Mike Maloney.
Right.
Okay, and that's in my book too. Now, I figure the longer duration, if I could push these loans out 20, 30 years, and I can borrow in 5 different currencies, being the Swedish currency, the British pound, USI dollar, and there was one more, I forget. Anyway, I'm betting these loans are going to hyperinflate, and I'm going to pay them back with failing currency the way Hugo Chavez did.
Yeah.
Look, I've only been in Ashgabat, Mexico for 4 months.
Mm-hmm.
When I started, I had nothing.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not talking, I had gold and I had cash.
Yeah.
I'm talking, I didn't have any chickens.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't have any honey. I've made this farm profitable.
Yeah.
Now listen to this, Mike. I know this is a long call, but I haven't talked to you in a while, and I wanted to.
I appreciate it.
Anyway, right across the street from here is a tilapia farm that produces 150 tons of tilapia a year.
Damn.
Now, I don't care whether tilapia is good, bad, or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
People are buying it. It's a commodity.
Right.
Now, I can borrow on that and pay it back with the profits of tilapia because it's trading for 110 pesos a kilo.
Mm-hmm.
And pay it back in about a year and a half
mm-hmm.
for what I'm purchasing the farm for. And I'm borrowing in currency that I know I have a track record. 100% of currencies fail.
Yeah.
Tell me where I'm wrong on this.
Right.
Where am I wrong in this?
No. So definitely that is a clear-cut viable option. Borrow now and hope to pay back later. Now it's all the unforeseen events in between because in a global reset against all currencies, we're still trying to base future expectations on past performance. And I think there's probably one or two factors out of all that I'm not even aware of that could come up, which could alter that plan, or it might work flawlessly. I don't know, but that's a method that has worked before. It might work again. So more power to you. Do what you do, and it's available amongst many other options I'm sure out there that people can take advantage of to profit and to protect and to preserve, all in the same category. So yeah, so it sounds like a plan you got going on there. So work your plan, change it, and work it again.
Well, yes, but I'm betting on tangible assets such as honey, chicken,
mm-hmm.
and commodities. The way Hugo did. I mean,
Yeah.
he was purchasing mining companies, shipping companies,
Right.
things that would appreciate at the rate of
Right.
inflation or exceed it.
Right.
And that's what I'm doing. That's why I love these farms.
Right.
I mean, I'll buy farms all day.
Right. Well, hey, man, I appreciate you calling in. It's always good to hear from you. Hearing your strategies, man, and keep doing what you do, man. Appreciate you.
Thank you, Mike.
Yeah,
Take
be
care.
good. Hello, caller. Which name are you calling from? I hear myself. Hello, caller. Which name are you calling from?
This is Wayne 313. I'm calling from Detroit.
Wayne 313. What's going on, my man? What's on your mind? Give me something quick if you don't mind.
I wanted to tag in with the last caller, and can you bring up on the screen the third verse of the Star Spangled Banner?
You say the third verse of the Star Spangled Banner.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. It is racist as hell, like he said, but it's beyond racist.
All right, let me Star Spangled. But go ahead and lay it out for us while I try to find it on the net real quick.
I can't do it no justice, Mike. But in the meantime, I'm gonna tell people to save up your nipples, man, and don't drink from the mainstream, man. Don't believe what you read, like Tupac said. Don't believe what you hear on the news. But this third verse, I had to call in for this one, Mike. The third verse, you only you can do it justice. I need you to really read it with a pair of eyes. Don't just brush over, just because they really, we fought on the side of the colonial Marines. We fought with Britain in those days against this country, right? Yeah. And we burned down Washington D.C. We were slaying the enemy. And they finally got the best of us in a particular battle. And Francis Scott Key came on a British ship on the bars to beg for the capture, the freedom of one of his partners. But he was watching the battlefield when he wrote this verse, right? And watching our blood. And it was a message to the people that were dying then, our brothers and sisters and fathers, and for us now, right? How they feel about us. And not only did he write this nation 100 years ago, just a little better than 100 years ago, chose to make it their anthem, their national anthem, and to make it to where, like with Colin Powell, with Colin Kaepernick, where if you didn't bow down to this verse right here, right, then you were going to be canceled, like with the cancel culture. You know what I mean? So just see what they were canceling people out from with this verse, right?
All right, so I had
to bow.
Go ahead. Go ahead. I got a Star Spangled Banner, and I'm trying to make it easier. Go ahead and read it for me off the top of your head. Hopefully, I got the right version up here because whatever. Anyway, go ahead.
No, I don't have it in front of me. I really don't.
I got the chorus. I got
verse.
Third verse. I mean, so who's broad stripes and broad stars thou through perilous fight, o'er the ramparts we watch were so gladly streaming, and the rockets' red glare, the rump bombs bursting in the air gave proof through the night that the flag was still there. Oh, say does the Star Spangled Banner yet? Huh?
That's the first verse.
Okay, so I know this is the wrong version. So I got to find the full thing. So I'm getting little snippets of it. And let me
find it, Mike. Find it, Mike. It's worth it, Mike. It put color to this crap.
Okay. Let me see. Let me see. Okay, because I'm only getting Star Spangled Banner.
Francis Scott Key, third verse. Type in third verse.
Okay. Let me do that one. Third verse. 1 second. Star Spangled Banner, third verse.
Yep, because it's something that they want.
Third verse.
They don't want this readily read.
The third verse of the Star Spangled Banner. Okay, here we go with something. It says, "No refuge could save the hireling and slave from the terror of flight or the
airling, like the young, our your generations, you,
and slave,
grandchildren's children." Yep.
From the terror of the flight, or the gloom, or the grave, and the Star-Spangled Banner in triumph doth wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave. That's the third verse of Star-Spangled Banner.
No, it's more. It's more to that. It's more than that. It's more than that, right? That's part of it. That's a few verses, but it's long. It's like 20 bars. It's like 20 bars of it, right? Basically saying that our blood don't even deserve to get shed on this, on this land. Like, it's nothing that them or us today, like, we never got nothing coming. You know what I mean? Like,
at home. Okay, so here's the third version of the national anthem goes like this. And where is that band who so vauntily swore that the havoc of war and the battle's confusion, a home and a country should leave us no more?
Where them boys at? Where them boys at? That band, that's the gang. Where that gang at now?
Their blood was washed out of their foul footsteps, pollution. No refuge could save their hireling and slave from the terror of flight or the gloom of the grave. Okay.
Where we walk, our footsteps is polluted. Anywhere we step is polluted.
Okay, so
our blood couldn't even wash it out. Our blood couldn't even wash the pollution away. Like, us dead is not even good enough.
Okay, so I need to
being here.
Yeah, so hey, I'm gonna dive deeper in that because this is my first time my knowledge coming across this in that manner. So I'll have it on the screen here, so I'll dive in deeper, man.
Yes, sir.
Appreciate you, man.
I appreciate you.
Yeah, be good.
Bye-bye.
Okay, that's deep. That goes deep. So I got to dive deeper. I must admit I'm not too well versed in that. So I'll keep it at that. But okay, so we keep it moving. So always, let me see what we got going on here. But let me see, we're at 50 minutes. So to get ready to dial back, I gotta get ready to dial back. But for those that plugged in, we covered a couple of different things, did some videos before. I encourage you to check it out if you haven't got plugged in. And as always, man, the news. Actually, let me pull up something real quick. I have to pull this up because it was quite juicy when I read it. And then I'm going to talk a little bit more about the Pledge of Allegiance to the Lord of Lords and King of Kings, and go from there. But let me share with you something that was quite interesting to me when I read it not long ago. Let me open this up real quick, and then I'll close with this. But the despair. Let me see here. His heart is established. His Lord is fixed. Let me see if I can find it real quick. Let me find a version. It's a Bible verse that is very right on time, but just not acting right. So I may not do it. But anyway, I'm gonna save it for another day. But I appreciate those that called in, those that participated, and let's keep it moving right along the way. But I want to make sure I continue to mention this particular, if I can find it, where to go. The Pledge of Allegiance, or the Declaration of Dependence, as it's called, to the Kingdom of God, and it has to do with the Lord's Prayer. So I'm going to close off with that because I'm going to refer to this more because I want to talk more about what interests me, which is the kingdom of God and better understanding that concept. And, basically making that the one of the many messages that I'm going to focus on because, as I mentioned yesterday, for those that tuned in, we can't get to the final destination of the eternal game plan unless this message is preached and things relevant to it to better understand it in order to get to the big hoorah. So anyway, this is just something I'm going to share more often, but the Declaration of Dependence, this is what I depend upon. It's the message of the kingdom of God. So for all my believers out there, you know what it's about. But, our Father, which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done in earth as it is in heaven. Give us our daily bread. So to give us our daily bread, that goes to the whole prepper side of thing. Like, we should trust God for our daily bread. And of course, in a natural sense, do preparations for tomorrow and beyond. But, depend upon him for your daily bread. And that's what I'm going to continue to do. And forgive us our debts as we forgive our debtors, and lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. That's what we definitely need deliverance from today. And for thine is the kingdom and the power and the glory forever and ever. And that is the declaration of dependence on the kingdom of God. So for all my people out there that, this vibe will well with you, more power to you. I encourage you, join the Discord, join the Telegram, take this visual aid, share it, use it as you may. But I'm going to refer to it every day as we close out because this is the ultimate sample or example that was given to us that we can use as a model of how to pray. It's all, as I mentioned, the kingdom is mentioned twice in there. And it's about his will being done on earth as it is in heaven, because his kingdom is eternal and the power is available to us right now. So with that being the case, people, be blessed, be safe, and back at it again tomorrow, Lord willing. And I will see you guys later. Peace.